All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. June 20th. We are 10 days away from being halfway through the year. Hopefully, you're halfway to your goal or close to it. I would say as long as you're like at least 40% of your goal right now, maybe even 35 if you really put your foot to the floor, you can still achieve your goal for sure. Okay, we are very fortunate today from our Summerlin office to have Mr. Gustavo Chavez. Mr. Gustavo, if you could hit *6 on your phone now, then we can hear you, my man.
All right, I'll unmute it.
There he is. There he is. All right, Gustavo. So start off by just telling him a little about yourself, how long you've been doing this good stuff, and just so they get an idea of who you are.
Sure. So my name is Gustavo Chavez. I'm 46 years old. I have a couple kids, and I've been in Vegas since 2001. I started my career back about 9 years ago. It's almost going to be 9 years. So I went to San Diego for a couple of years. I worked with Century 21 out there. And then when I came back here, I joined right back with Berkshire Hathaway. But Berkshire Hathaway was actually the original office I signed here before I moved to San Diego. So, that's my little short story on me and when I started in real estate.
Okay, cool. Now, just curious, when did you go back to San Diego? How long ago was that?
That was about it was about 8 years ago. So I got my license in California first, thinking that I would start real estate there. Got my license, still living in Las Vegas. And then my wife was my girlfriend at the time, said, hey, go ahead and why don't you just get your license here while we move? So I did that. I signed with Berkshire Hathaway, and then a couple months later, I ended up moving to San Diego, and I was there for about 2.5 years. And then we moved back, and then I reestablished my license here. That's how it worked out. A couple of years ago, I was in San Diego, about 7-8 years ago.
It's funny you say that because right before I moved here, I lived in San Diego for a year. And everybody, when I first moved here, was like, you moved to here from San Diego? I'm like, yeah, I actually like it better here. I don't know about you, but I actually like it better here.
Yeah, I tell my wife, you see a lot of people like walking and going to parks and stuff. And I said, well, yeah, what else are you going to do? You can't afford it. And it's too expensive. so that's my little joke. I mean, but it's a nice place. We lived on this area called Bankers Hill. So it's a lot of Victorian homes, a lot of hills there. And, it's probably like a quarter mile from the bay there. So you could see like the water and everything. But we lived in a tiny box, smelled like mildew. And it was like $1,500. And so, we had our experience. I think the experiences are awesome. It's a part of life. But definitely it was fun for her. She loved it. But she would cry every night. Well, not really cry, but she would call me to come out and meet her because she couldn't find parking. So we had to drive around blocks for, sometimes for almost an hour trying to find a parking spot just so we can walk back to our little apartment. So it was interesting.
Yeah. No, I loved it too. I lived right next to Moonlight Beach, and I was there for about a year. But I you know what? As a place to live full time, it's tough to be here because of everything you just mentioned: cost of living, traffic, all that good stuff. And honestly, a place to sell real estate where you have incredible numbers. Las Vegas, has a 7, depending on, at least a 7, if not 8% turnover rate in most neighborhoods. Then you have, appreciating. All our markets are incredible, but Las Vegas is a good one because of, a lot of the people coming out of California are coming here, and our other market in Phoenix. So it's just a really good trifecta of involvement with all these different markets. So give them a little bit of your progression. Fortunately for me, I've been working with you for most of it, so I know your progression. But give them an idea because you were a little frustrated your first couple years, and then you took off. So tell them a little about that.
Yeah. So I'd like to just let everybody know that when I started, I worked in restaurants for close to 20 years. I started in restaurants and I loved it. I enjoyed it. Like fit my personality. I just love taking care of people. Really, it was just a lot of fun, and I thought that you could make money just by smiling, knowing your product, and just making people just have the best time ever. And I did. I made a good amount of money, but when I got into real estate, I didn't bring any skills over other than like, you get to know your market. Like you understand, like if there's homes out there, right? You look at the inventory, and you bring your personality, and you're excited to do it. But the technology like pummeled me. Like I didn't know how to send an email. Like legitimately, I didn't even know where to go. I had a phone, so everybody has a $1,000 computer in their hand. I knew that you could send an email from your phone, but I didn't even know how. So the first time somebody asked me to send them an email, I went to Google. I typed in how to send an email, and it gave me this huge just instructions, right? It was really large instructions on how to send an email, and it confused me even more. Then they asked me to CC their assistant on there, and I went back and Googled that again, and again, there's this huge, this large text of instructions, and then they asked me to attach a PDF. And when they did that, I just realized that this probably wasn't the field for me. I mean, I felt like the biggest dummy ever. I mean, I don't think I'm dumb, but I just didn't know. And technology, people said, like, you've got to put your clients here and, use the software for that. And the technology just kept coming and coming and coming and coming so fast that it was so frustrating because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I was going to chase clients or if I was going to learn this technology. Like, what came first, the egg, the chicken or the egg? And it was just really, really frustrating. So finally one day I just said, you know what, screw this. I'm going to sell one house and I'm going to quit this because this is not for me. So my mindset shifted from trying to learn all this stuff to just get a client. Just get a client, go to an open house, meet somebody, use the spiel of, when are you moving and, what made you pick this area, just go through it. And I met a couple in San Diego. They had a little girl. They were a military family. They were looking to buy a home. And they liked me, maybe because they knew that I was new and that I was going to have all the time in the world for them. And so we
Good point.
Yeah. So we ended up hooking up, and it took me a long time to get them into a house. I mean, I remember we saw a ton of houses. I got them into contract 3 times. The first 2 times they canceled, and then the third time they were about to cancel because there was a retaining wall out there. And in San Diego, everything, or around the surrounding areas, there's hills everywhere. So a lot of unusable land. So they'll tell you you've got a lot of 7,000 square feet, but you're really sitting on 2,000 square feet, and 5,000 of that is sloping. So there was a retaining wall down at the bottom between 2 neighbors, and somebody had built that wall, and it looked like it was slightly leaning, but yeah, I mean, long story short, they were getting canceled because of that. My broker jumped on the phone, helped me out. We got the deal closed. Right before the deal closed, there was another person that I had met through the house that called me, and they said, can you help us out? And I thought, you know what, while I'm closing this deal, I might as well just help this person out too. So I did, and again, they probably hired me because, I was new and I had a ton of time. And, they were a young couple, and they had a little daughter too. And I helped them out, and then little by little, it just kind of, there was glimpses of like, I can do this. So I didn't quit. I closed those 2 deals, but I moved here to Las Vegas. So once I moved here to Las Vegas, I had a little bit of experience under my belt. I closed 2 deals. And and then I hung out at the office for. But prior to closing those 2 deals, guys, it took me an entire year of doing nothing. Like, I did nothing. I just spent on marketing and, all the fees and stuff. So I did absolutely nothing. So when I got here, I just, I went to the coaching meetings in the morning and, role plays and stuff like that. But then I said, you know what, I've got a truck. There's tons of inventory, right? Well, there was more inventory. So what I did was I bought myself one of those little tables at Walmart and some chairs and a tablecloth. And I bummed a bunch of signs. I remember there were a couple of agents in there that were retiring. They said, hey, I've got some signs, so if you want them, just come by and pick them up. So I picked them up. Walt let me borrow some signs, and I just took them home. And my wife, she took her little Cricut machine and she, cut out my name and phone number, and we stuck them on those signs. And I spray painted some of them to get rid of some of the other agents' numbers on there, and we made them work. And I threw them in the back of my truck. I put chairs, I put the table, got a computer, and I just every Sunday night I would just go online and look for a property that I would like to have for myself. So I looked for the single-story home, 3+ bedrooms with a 3-car garage in a no HOA area. I thought that would probably be, a home that most people would like, all walks of life. So that's what I looked for.
Right.
And I called the agents who were listing these homes, and I asked them if they would let me do the open house, and they said sure. And I asked them to let me do it the entire week, so Monday through Friday.
Right.
And even Saturdays. So, and I would do them, 11 to 5, 11 to 6. Sometimes I do them earlier, depending on how busy we got. And that's what I did. So I'd just go to these houses, set up, and ask them to put it on the MLS. And I would just do Facebook Lives. Hey guys, I'm at this open house tonight, or I'm going to this open house, and check it out, come by and see me. And it took a couple months really to get any sort of momentum. But funny enough, that staying away from the office, really just that becoming my office, homes becoming my office, allowed me to do two things, which was learn the inventory and then also meet people. If it was one person a day.
Yeah, and that was your form of prospecting. You went out, you did a little door knocking, you set up your sign. Because I remember during our coaching calls, I'd be talking to you while you were putting up signs.
yeah, and I'd be, doing Facebook Live, putting up signs because, a lot of things happen, man. Your signs get run over. Balloons, they get all tangled up when it's windy. All kinds of things happen. People drive by, they honk at you. Kids knocked over your signs. Like I saw a kid drop kick one of my signs. And it was hilarious. I wish I would have got that on video, but it was, so a lot of things happen. We're just recording it. Sometimes people want to watch that stuff. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes, it's boring. But I think just being present is really important. So that's what I did. And, people reached out to me from other states. They said, hey, because they were friends of mine, so they would reach out and say, hey, you still doing real estate? I see you all the time, going to these houses. How's the market? And then they'd send clients over to me from other places because they thought that I was busy. They thought that I was, a stellar agent because I was always working. But I was just trying to get business, and it was just perspective, right? And that's what they thought. So yeah. So
well,
business.
Yep. Oh, there's a lot of good messages in what you just said there. Okay, so number one is, you got frustrated. You decided, okay, I'm going to do one deal, and then I'm going to get out. Then you did another one, and all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I think I can do this. And I think it's because you focused. You went to, I'm going to get a client, and I'm going to sell them something. And then as soon as you did that a couple of times, then you said, okay, how am I going to get clients with an S at the end? And you just started doing, and now inventory's picking up again. So hopefully a lot of people on here, because the biggest excuse I get about open houses, I don't have a listing. Well, go get one. And until you have your own, do what Gustavo did and talk to people in your office, okay, and do open houses for other people. And like you said, you were there all week. It was your prospecting. It was your office. It was your, what do you call it? Place you were going to be the whole week, and you did very well doing that, right?
Yeah, I did. One of my best clients. We still do business. He still calls me, and he was actually a guy who owned a house in a neighborhood that I did an open house for. I did an open house for an agent that was part of a different company up in North Las Vegas, and it was way north, and Deer Springs and 215. And she said, hey, would you? It's so funny how people connect you to other people, right? So there was a guy who was like a mentor, and he had reached out to me because he saw my Facebook Live, and I sat with him and had coffee, and he introduced me to this girl, and she said, hey, would you do an open house for me? And I said, sure. It was a really nice house, but it was way up there, and it was priced pretty high. And I went up there and I did the open house for the week. And this guy walks in, the only guy that walked in the entire week. He walks in and he says, what are you doing? I said, I'm doing an open house. And he said, but it's the middle of the week. And I said, yeah. He said, yeah, I know. I said, I figured, if people are out shopping, I'm going to make it easy for them to find home that they're looking for. You know, if this is the area that they're looking for. And he started questioning me about the area. So before I did that area, because I didn't know anything about that area, I went in and looked at, you know, as much as I could, demographics, you know, just Googled what I could. And I started telling them, you know, hey, this is a great area. I mean, if you look at the demographics, you know, the schools, if you look at the income of the households in here, you wouldn't think that, you know, that this price, because he asked me about the price. I said, but this price is actually fair price for this market, even though it may seem that way. But you know, you've got a lot of pros out here, you know. And once people find that out, they're gonna come rushing over here. And he was like, okay. And that house went under contract that week. And then he calls me.
Nice.
He goes, hey, I want to sit down with you. He said, I want to sell a couple of properties. And I was like, okay. I'd never sold the property before. I don't think I'd listed a property yet. Actually, yes, I had. I'd listed one property before. But he said, hey, I want to sell a couple of properties. And I sat down with him, and we talked. And it was just all the information that I gained. I didn't become smarter. I just got some ammunition, I guess, you know, for conversation.
Right.
And that really helped me. So
you did your homework.
I did my homework, and it wasn't that hard. I mean, you know, it was just memorization of certain things and realizing that I know more than they do. You know, sometimes they sound like they know more, but you know, we're in it. So I mean, it helped me a lot.
They're testing you.
Yeah.
He came to the open house to test you, and he's like, that's interesting. An open house during the week. This must be a go-getter. I'm going to go in and check him out. And then you gave him some good information. You know, you dropped some knowledge on him.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. And then he sees it sells, and he's like, okay, I'm going to call Gustavo. And you know, and so there's so many messages in what you just went through. One of them is the universal message is if you do productive stuff and you do it for a while, because you, like you said, open houses, it took a little while to catch, right? That's like the universe testing you to make sure you're going to keep showing up. You keep showing up, boom, stuff happens. So tell us, how many properties did he list with you?
So that year we ended up listing 2 properties, and they were good. They were good price properties. Then he ended up buying. Yeah. Then he ended up the next year. He said, "Hey, I'm gonna buy a house for my in-laws." So I ended up selling their house that they were living in, which was his, that house, and then moving them into a new property. And just recently, he just called me and he said, "Hey, I want to." And here's the funny part: he did not use me when he bought his son's brand new home, because Lennar was a new build, and Lennar wasn't paying us anything, and he knew that. So he's like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna get this great deal from Lennar. But then when he went to sell, he called me, and he could have done one of those, like, you know, open door offer up or whatever. But he called me, and this year he called me up and he said, "Hey man, I want to sell that property." So I was like, cool. So we ended up selling that property. So all in all, I think I've sold about probably five or maybe 6
deals
properties.
Yeah.
And it's only been a couple of years that I've known the guy. So it's like it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, you never know when you're being, and I can tell you, I in my real estate career, I have a lot of stories just like that, where you're in the right place at the right time, and then you're doing the right stuff, and the right stuff happens. You know, it's not like, you know, and I think it's because you made a decision to start being as proactive and as, you know, doing things that cause you to have deals happen. You just got into the high billable hour activities. And then give them a little idea, Gustavo, is what happened since then. Like, what are you doing now? Like, I know you're doing some of the, you know, you have your own properties and you're doing some, tell them what you do up to now. I think it'd be good for them to hear.
Yeah. So we've really focused now on kind of our portfolio. So we've bought a few properties, sold one to buy 2, bought 2 this year. Took one that we were living in and, you know, moved out of that one and started an Airbnb. Helped our in-laws buy another one up north. Turned it into an Airbnb. So my wife is now managing that. We just bought one that's close to the airport. We're doing a 30-day plus rental because it's still not legal to do Airbnbs in unincorporated Clark County. But we're waiting on that one. So we're definitely investing more into our portfolio. We also bought some land up in Utah, so we're hiring a contractor. We have hired a contractor to build us a cabin up there, so it could be like a second home, but it's also going to be an Airbnb because it's available to do up there. The Duck Creek is, close enough to Vegas. It's kind of like a Big Bear in California. So if you know Big Bear, it's, small little community, cute community. Winters are great and all kinds of amenities. So yeah, we're doing that. We're just trying to make more time for the family to be able to be more available. So definitely that's what we've been doing now. As far as our focus, it's just to create more passive income in that manner. So and then with that, comes a lot of our repeat clients that are looking to do the same thing. So they see that we have an Airbnb, we post those on Facebook, and then they want to do that. So and then there's clients from there's other agents that don't want to deal with them that call me and say, hey, we help our client buy a home and then help them with the Airbnb process. So there's business begets business, I guess, if that's a terminology.
Well, you specialize now. You kind of specialized. That's good. Cool. Well, that's all great stuff. Now, so I'm a new agent, or I'm an agent trying to take it to the next level. Based on your experience now, Gustavo, tell them the 3 most important things you'd have them focus on.
Definitely just be consistent on whatever it is that you're going to do. So don't get distracted. Don't grab a deal and then just focus on that deal and then, forget about prospecting. So prospecting
very good point.
Be the most easiest thing. Like for me, it was just open houses. So even though I had a deal, I would still do my open houses. And, so because I had to continue to fill in that pipeline. So just don't forget, if you get 3 or 4 deals, 5 deals, you feel overwhelmed, don't forget about it because those deals will close and then you'll be running out to get more. That would be one. 2, I guess it would be just try to stay on top of all the transactional stuff. Like, go to your Tuesday meetings because they're going to give you a lot of information. Like you're gonna see like new builders come in or builders come in and talk about incentives. It'll give you boots on the ground information, or it'll give you that boots on the ground knowledge, so that when you're talking to people and they say, "Oh no, this is happening," or whatever, you say, "Well, yeah, but the builders this is what's happening with the builders," because you'll know right offhand what's happening. And then when it comes to lending, you have a lender, they'll talk about rates, they'll talk about new programs. So you have that information. So you're not constantly having to dig that information up. It'll give you ammunition. You just go to the Tuesday meetings, and that will help you a ton. And then 3, just stay consistent with your follow-ups. Just because somebody tells you, hey, that they're ready to buy today, and you call them and they don't come in, don't get frustrated with them. Just keep setting up an appointment. Just keep setting up appointments. And that, to me, is the most important thing when I was doing open houses, is I would try to set up, at least 2 or 3, like, meetings, like, face-to-face weekly. Whether it was with the lender, whether it was with an escrow company, whether it was with the client or a potential client, it didn't matter. I just needed to sit down with somebody, have a face-to-face conversation, because they knew somebody, right? They had their list of people that I didn't know, and that if I sat down with them enough, or I sat down with them at least once and sold myself, talked to them, build a relationship with them, maybe not today, but, a month, a year, they're going to come back and they're going to say, hey, I've got this client. So to me, it was that easy, just try to set up an appointment with those people that you meet, because you never know, that person might bring you business. And like I said, it didn't matter, who it was. If somebody reached out to me and said, hey, we've got this great product, we want to offer you, we're this lending company, I'd say, sure. I'd sit down with them. And then I'd say, in order for me to trust you as a lender, I gotta prove to you, I gotta know how your process works. So why don't you send me one of your clients and let me take care of them? Let me put them under contract, and then I'll see the lending side during the transaction. You'll be able to close the deal. And then once that's done, then I can trust you and I can refer you out to my clients. And so I turn the tables on them.
Very good point.
And lenders would send me clients. So, there's so definitely those 3 things I think really helped me out a ton.
Wow. All good points, my man. All good points. Yeah, it's been fun working with you the whole time too, you and Michelle, and you guys have worked together as a wonderful team too. I think everybody should know that too, because you guys work together as a team, and it's very helpful if you can do that. Not everybody can. You guys can, so that's good, right? Because you guys, because she's like, organized and does, all the stuff that you mentioned were trouble for you. And you are the people person out there putting deals together, the salesperson. So it works out really well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, that's definitely, the real estate has definitely taught me a lot about even marriage, because, if you pick a right partner, your life is going to be a ton easier, and you're going to be able to get to places, and you'll be able to, have fun with it, right? You don't have to be stressed. And it's still stressful and stuff, but it's getting easier, and definitely, there's things that I want to get done. I just don't know how to do them, so I just tell my wife, hey, I want to do this, and she's like, okay, and then she just takes care of it. She just tells me this is what I need to do, and that helps. That helps a ton. So I always tell people I can move like really heavy objects. That's as far as my intelligence goes. But as far as like my wife, she'll take care of the technical stuff, right? So,
yeah, she's a smart lady.
Move, yeah. So that works out for both of us. So.
Yeah, and she's smart. She's obviously a beautiful lady, and you have wonderful, gorgeous children too. So it's absolutely, when you can do the mix. And like I said, not everybody can. You guys are really good at it, which is probably the biggest gift out of everything you guys do together, is that you can do all this together as a team, and it works out really well. So congratulations.
And it's all smoke and mirrors, Rick.
I know.
we just present what we want people to see. But it's tough on the background, but I appreciate that.
And that's the Facebook life, right? You guys are really good.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too that you mentioned, is you guys put a lot of stuff on Facebook. Everybody knows Instagram. Everybody knows what's going on. You're constantly being consistent with it, which really helps out. And you put personal life on there too, which I think is helpful.
Yeah. I mean, you got to kind of move and shift with the markets. Before when I was doing Facebook Live 8 years ago, I think it's kind of one of those things like, my kids wouldn't be on there. They would say like, God, Dad, that's like really old. Old people are on Facebook. But that's what the audience I was looking for, right? I wasn't looking for somebody who didn't have a job, was young, living with parents. I was looking for somebody who was like trying to move up in their life. And, if they use Facebook Live, fantastic. But but now it's like really congested, and not that it's bad to do. I mean, I think you have to do everything, but I think you have to pick and choose what you're going to do, and then just stay consistent with it, stay in front of people, and that's it.
Right. That's the key, my man. Well, perfect. We're at time right now. I really appreciate you, Gustavo Chavez from the Summerlin office. If you guys have referrals, send them his way. California, Arizona, we have all kinds of wonderful people on the call today, and it'll be on my podcast forever, so they can listen to it forever. So thank you very much for taking out 30 minutes today, my man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you. You guys have a good day.
All right. You too, man. All right, everybody. We'll do this again in a week. Thank you for your time, everybody. Bye. Bye, Gustavo.
Bye. All right, see ya.